Hello and welcome to another episode of the ACC Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. Goodman, we all thought it was going to be three ACC teams in the NCAA tournament, but that's not what happened. We got a fourth in. North Carolina snuck their way into the first four. They will be playing San Diego State in about, as we record this, in about 11 hours from this very moment. North Carolina will be the first team that's not a 16 seed to play in this year's NCAA tournament. They draw San Diego State. What do you make of this matchup for North Carolina in the playing game in Dayton?
I mean, you're playing with a little house money here because nobody really thought you were going to get in. You know, with the 1-12 quad one record, there was obviously a lot of controversy surrounding their inclusion, with the chairman being Bubba Cunningham. My feeling on that, Rob, is all those teams in the bubble, you can justify each one of them. You can find a metric, and I assume the committee, the metric they looked at the most was, hey, they play people in the non-conference. They scheduled up and they played tough people, and that's kind of how we've done it over the last few years.
And the predictive ratings. North Carolina is 33rd on
Yep.
Ken Palm. They're top 35 in the net.
Yep.
That's higher than all of the teams that were left out on the bubble below them. And
I think
that's
the
what they looked at.
biggest thing for me with Carolina in this game is San Diego State's got their big guy back, Magoon, and he's a beast out there. Freshman, he's big, he's a shot blocker, he's a rim protector. He's what Carolina really is missing this year. So the
Are you
question is,
saying that they're going to recruit him in the handshake line after this game?
I
Is
would
that what you're
never
saying?
say that. No, I don't know if anybody. That's a long way to go from saying nobody leaves San Diego. Like, why would you leave San Diego? I don't care who you are. You stay in San Diego forever. I'd like to go to San Diego. But I'll say this: like Van Allen Lubin, he's got to play big in this one. Jalen Washington's got to give him some minutes in this one. Like they gotta. And the guard's got to be, Ian Jackson's got to be back to what he was. He's got to be a bench scorer here, come off the bench and give him electricity and give him a jolt. And they have to guard. They have to guard because that's what San Diego State does, right? That's what they've been known for. That's their culture, is toughness and guarding. And if you don't match that, you're going home in this one.
Well, look, that's the biggest thing is what you just said at the end. Like San Diego State is a top 15 defense in America. They are physical. They're big across their wings. They're big across the perimeter. They have a big shot blocker in the middle in Magoon Gwath, who's one of the best rim protectors in college basketball. Um, Van Allen Lubin's been terrific of late. Over the course of the last 10 games, as Carolina's kind of gone on this run, you know, he's been the guy that's been the star. And Jalen Withers, I know he had the lane violation on Friday night, which is tough, and hopefully he can move past it because his shooting ability as a stretch four, alongside Van Allen Lubin being this double machine, like that's been what's turned North Carolina from being a team that struggled against the likes of Stanford and Wake Forest and Pitt to being a team that took Duke down to the wire in the semifinals of the ACC tournament. So it's those two big guys to me. Those two guys are going to end up being the key here. If Carolina can get past San Diego State, they draw Ole Miss in the second round. Again, I think that is a really difficult matchup because of how tough and how physical Ole Miss's backcourt can be. What do you make of the likelihood that the Tar Heels can get past San Diego State, can get past Ole Miss, and potentially draw an Iowa State team in the second round of the tournament?
I mean, it's not a brutal road. It's really not if you think of it, right? I mean, Carolina's got the talent to be able to do it, especially in the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't see any reason why not, because Ole Miss is not big. That's actually a better matchup for Carolina. Now they play hard as crap, but ultimately Malik Diaz, they're big, and you're talking about 6'8", 6'9", like pick and pop big. So I think the matchup is actually real favorable. They've got some bigger, stronger wings, but to me, you get confidence too. If you're Carolina, you beat San Diego State, you go in with a little bit of swagger, and yeah, I mean Chris Beard's a hell of a coach at Ole Miss, but you're not. I At that point, you're kind of playing with house money, and I think it's the way they lost to Duke in the ACC tournament. I think it's like a new lease on life for this team. And like, okay, we got another opportunity here. Let's take advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if they win a couple. Like honestly, I think they can beat San Diego State and Ole Miss get that confidence. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, they have guys that have been there before. They have guys that understand how to win in March. They have guys that have seen they were what, Sweet 16 last year, Final Four, national title game in 2022. RJ Davis was there for both of those runs, so it's not the most surprising thing in the world to think that North Carolina can find a way to get it done. The bottom line is this: if RJ Davis goes nuts and Ian Jackson goes nuts, and they both go nuts in the same game, they can play with literally anybody in college basketball. They proved that on Friday night. You said that North Carolina didn't get a bad draw. You know who did get a bad draw? You know who's got to be sitting here punching air and kicking dirt and throwing things and yelling at people? The Louisville Cardinals. The number 11 team in the AP poll, Goodman, is the number 8 seed in the South region. And if they get past Creighton, who, by the way, finished second in the Big East and was the runner-up in the Big East tournament, if they get past Creighton, they get Auburn in the second round of the dance. Yes, they're playing in Lexington, but they play the team that is the number 1 overall seed in the second round if they can get past the team that finished second in the Big East.
Yeah. I mean, is it good for them to play in Lexington or is it horrible? Like, are there going to be a lot of Kentucky fans there or will it be overrun by Louisville fans? Auburn travels too, so there'll be a fair share of Auburn fans certainly going there, especially thinking their team has a chance to win the whole thing this year. Um, yeah, I don't love the draw for Louisville, obviously, but Auburn has lost 3 of their last 4 games. They got to get to Auburn also. Like, to me, if you had told Louisville fans before the year, hey, you know what? You're gonna be in the 8-9 game. You're gonna beat Creighton. Let's say they beat them, which I think they can, because Creighton is still undermanned, and if you can just hold Stephen Ashworth down, I don't know where they really score their points. Ashworth and Jackson McAndrew, just hold those guys down. But if you had told any Louisville fan, you'd be in the second round of the tournament. You're playing the number 1 team in the country, the Auburn Tigers, with a chance to go to the Sweet 16 after the last 2 years in the Kenny Payne era, which was the biggest disaster maybe of the last 25 years. You'd sign up for that in a heartbeat, Rob.
Yeah, I guess. I just,
You would.
You would, but
would.
now that you've seen how this has kind of played out and you see you've had 1 loss since February 1st and 2 losses since December 21st, right?
Yeah.
And you do all of that work. You play all of those games. You win all of those games, and the reward that you get is an 8 seed.
Yeah.
It
No,
just
it's not great.
it's tough.
It's
No,
not.
look, I
You wanted a 7. You wanted a 7 for sure.
Yeah.
7 would have taken you out of Lexington, and it would have taken you away from playing a number 1 in the second round. But bottom line again is just get there. Just win a game. Win a game against a Creighton team that is beatable, and you're playing with house money against Auburn. And, even if you lose, it's a hell of a year 1 to get momentum going into the portal season, which is upon us here.
Yeah, it's hard going into the portal season.
We're in it.
We're in the midst of the portal season right now. Who's the key? If Auburn or if Louisville makes it to the Sweet 16, if they beat Creighton and they beat Auburn, who is going to be the guy that makes it happen?
I mean, they got to put pressure on Kalk, right? And they got to find a way. So I think they have to attack as much as anything, and we've seen what Edwards has done lately. Mm-hmm. He's got to keep that going. If he can keep it going, man, he's been incredible lately. And they really – that was the one thing with them. I didn't know if they had a star this year, but he's kind of turned into certainly the offensive star. And we know if Chucky can shut down Ashworth, I just don't know where Creighton gets their offense from.
Yep. Since March started, This is what Terrence what Fat Edwards has done. He had 23 against Pitt. He scored 35 in a win over Cal. He had 16 against Stanford in the last game of the regular season, 25 in the first round of the tournament, 21 against Clemson in a win, and then had 29 in the loss to Duke on
Not bad.
Saturday night. So he's been on fire.
Yeah.
Other side of the bracket, out in the Midwest,
Yeah.
Clemson drew McNeese. And McNeese is one of those teams that everybody is hyped up about as like a 5-12 potential matchup. And I actually really, really like this draw for Clemson. I think that they should be the team that's favored to get out of the first weekend of the tournament. And I think that there's a very real chance that Brad Brownell is heading to his second straight Sweet 16.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We've liked this Clemson team all year, right? They put together well. They got physical bigs. They got a terrific guard, obviously, in Hunter. They brought on Jaden Zachary, who's kind of filled a huge role for them defensively and toughness wise. McNeese is good. We saw them. You and I saw them in person early this season. They're just not. They're not overly big. They're not overly talented up front, and that's where Clemson could, should, and will have a major advantage and take advantage of that. To me, Shefflin and Locken should have very little opposition with some of these big men. Now, defensively, they're not bad, but again, this is where, to me, I think, yeah, they win this game. I'm not going to say easy, but they win this game. And then
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about McNeese, right? The way that they want to play is they want to force turnovers. They want to get to the offensive glass. They want to kind of big boy you in a sense, right? They want to be more physical. They want to be more athletic. And for the most part, they are. That was one thing Will Wade tried to do in the offseason was get bigger, get more athletic, get more physical. And he went out and got Kadir Copeland, who's a 6'6" kind of combo guard. He went out and he got Joe Charles, who is a 6'9" wing. That can really shoot it. Brian Celebonge is 6'8" and 230 pounds and came from Arizona State. So he went out and got more size and more athleticism. But two things happened. One, Allen Bree got hurt early in the year, who was supposed to be their go-to guy and their leading scorer, and he has not played since the second game of the season. And the other part of it is that size is really impressive when you're going up against Southland teams. When you're going up against a team that has 7-foot Victor Locken and 6'10" Ian Shefflin, and both of those dudes are in their senior seasons, and you have a point guard and Chase Hunter who's not going to get rattled by anything. I think that is a very difficult matchup for McNeese. Like if McNeese was playing Michigan, I'd have him penciled in the second round already. If McNeese was playing someone like a Purdue, if they were the 13th seed and High Point was the 12th seed in that region, I would have McNeese playing Clemson in the second round of the NCAA tournament. I just think this is a really, really difficult matchup for him. Dylan Hunter broke his hand. How big of an impact is that? And when do you think Clemson starts really feeling that impact in the tournament?
I mean, I think you feel it if you get in foul trouble, but I think they have enough anyway. And the positive is, again, if you don't get in foul trouble, especially your guards here, these timeouts are endless in the NCAA tournament. So you really don't need more than 7, maybe 8 guys in a rotation. But, very few teams, unless it fits their style of play, very few teams are playing more than 8 guys in the NCAA tournament. They're going with they're shortening the rotation. But again, yes, I think Dylan Hunter's injury could have an effect on him in terms of providing.
I think it happens against Houston. If they get to Houston, that's when it matters because Houston,
they can wear you down.
Yeah, and you need 2 ball handlers and 2 playmakers and 2 connectors, and that's where you really run into trouble. All right, let's get to it, man. Let's talk about it. Brad Brownell, linked to the Indiana job.
Yeah,
bunch of rumors swirling there. What do you know, and what can you share?
Yeah, I do not see that happening at this point. I think Brad Brownell will sign an extension to stay at Clemson. He loves it there. Obviously he's got job security now. Graham Neff stuck with him, the young-ish AD for Clemson, and it's paid off. It's paid off. It's one of the coolest things for me because Brad's as good a guy as it gets. and he's on the hot seat for a while. And I love the fact that Graham a few years ago said to him, like, you got to get in the tournament or else I'm going to make a move. And at the end of the year, he didn't get in. They were NIT bound. And Graham still looked at it, in a very intelligent way of like, all right, we're still filling the seats. Brad's a good dude, high character, got a great relationship with him. Who am I going to get that's better? Who am I going to get? I'm going to make a move just to make a move to say that I'm going to put it on my resume that I hired this guy. No, he's stuck with Brad, and look at what's happened. Elite Eight, and been in the top 25 most of the season. Have a chance to do some damage this year, like we said, and get to a Sweet 16. So I would anticipate Brad Brownell to maybe, who knows, retire at Clemson.
Is it him coming back? Is that a Indiana said no decision, or is that a Brad Brownell decided that the grass isn't always greener decision?
I think it was a combination of both. I think the process was kind of dragging on a little bit, and Brad wasn't necessarily like at the top of their list. He was in that top three the whole time. But I think it was as much too about, all right, you know what? Why? Why? Because Brad's not really an Indiana guy. He doesn't love attention. Clemson's actually the perfect job for him because he doesn't care that football gets all the attention. In a way, he's used to it by now, number one. And, again, you got resources. The question obviously is going to be going forward is, how much revenue sharing does football take? What are you getting at Clemson basketball? That's going to be the interesting part going forward because Indiana obviously will have, it's a basketball school. We know that.
Yep. All right. Let's get to Duke.
Yep.
They are currently, according to most everyone, the favorite to win the national title. They have a relatively favorable draw here moving forward. And it looks to me like Cooper Flagg is most likely going to be in good enough health to be able to play at some point in this first weekend. I think that they're targeting the first round game. I don't know if it's necessarily worth risking re-aggravating that ankle in the first round game when you get American or Mount St. Mary's. But either way, I think they dodged a bullet with the Cooper Flagg ankle injury. So what do you make of Duke? What do you make of their run? What do you make of how they are set up to be able to try to get to a Final Four and win John Shire's first national title?
I mean, I have him going to the Final Four. I'm not worried about the ankle right now. Obviously, you hope he didn't come back too soon and, re-injure it or anything like that. But as long as they stay healthy, I think this Duke team is as good as any team in the country. I have them getting the national title game and losing to Florida just because I think Florida has the fewest amount of weaknesses, and I think they're just older. That's why I would take Florida. I just think their guys are old, all across the board for the most part, especially their three guards in the backcourt. Those guys have played a lot more college basketball than Con Knipple, Cooper Flagg, and Kaman Malawach. So, having said that, I still think I don't know who opposes, any sort of legitimate threat here. You look at it and Mississippi State or Baylor in the second round. No, nothing there. I'm not scared of Arizona in the Sweet 16. In fact, I think Akron could pull the upset over Arizona, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. And then, the 2 seed being Alabama. They got a good road, Rob. Duke got maybe the best road of anybody. Now, Alabama is dangerous, okay, if you get to them. They've been very erratic this year. They look terrible in the SEC tournament in the second half. We don't know if Grant Nelson is going to be healthy. He's got a knee issue right now that could keep him out of the first game. So I honestly like Duke's bracket. Wisconsin is the number 3. They have the best. Duke has the best road of any number 1. And I don't even think it's debatable, Rob. I don't even think you can debate it. It's that good.
Yep. I think Duke is And they also happen to be the best team in college basketball right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's playing the best, but sure.
So I have Duke winning the national title. I think if you look at the efficiency profile, so Torvik has something where he has the most similar efficiency profiles to different teams. And if you look at who Duke's similarities are, 2024 UConn. You know what 2024 UConn did, Goodman? They won the national title.
Unfortunately, yeah, I know.
2012,
I know all
2012 Kentucky. You know what 2012 Kentucky did, Goodman?
I do.
They won the national title. 2016 Villanova. You know what 2016 Villanova did, Goodman? They won the national title. 2010 Duke. You know what 2010 Duke did, Goodman?
Yeah.
They won the national title. So the teams that are built and that play and that execute the way that Duke does have won a lot of national championships in recent years. So I think that they're too good defensively. They win with their defense. They have enough offensive weapons. They have
They're awesome.
four different guys that you can run offense through. I think Conkin-Nipple has really taken a step forward here in the last week or so in terms of being aggressive off the dribble. Honestly, and I told him this at the ACC tournament. I think Tyrese Proctor is my favorite story in college basketball this year, or one of the best stories in college basketball that no one's talking about, because he's a guy that had a hype as a lottery point guard. You know who he reminds me of? Tell me if you think this is crazy. He reminds me of Quinn Cook, and the reason he reminds me of Quinn Cook is because in 2015, when Duke won the national title, Quinn Cook was the senior point guard that was a former McDonald's All-American, was an All-ACC guy. Tyus Jones comes in, this top 10 recruit, this guy that everyone thinks is going to end up being this future NBA point guard, and he was. And Quinn Cook says, "Cool, Tyus, you take over the point guard duties.
Yep.
I'm going to play off the ball." And it led to, and he embraced this like 3-and-D role, and it led to Duke winning a title, and it got Quinn Cook to the point where he hung around the league for a long time. He was there for like 6 or 7 years. And Tyrese Proctor is the same kind of way. He was the starting point guard the last 2 years. He this year accepted the idea that he was going to play a little bit more off the ball because Kahn and Cooper and these other guys were coming in. Has turned into one of the best three-point shooters in the ACC, has really embraced this 3-and-D mentality, and he is a major, major reason. His acceptance of that role as a veteran by allowing these freshmen to come in and kind of do what they do is part of the reason why Duke is as good as they are this season. So I've loved to see the Tyrese Proctor career arc. So there you have it, Goodman. Duke is winning the national title. You are a hater, officially a hater, because you do not have Duke winning the national title. I don't know what John Shire did. He must have like kicked your dog or something like that. But I get it, man. I get it.
Got him going all the way to the national title game, but I'm a hater.
Yep. All right. So we will be back next week with barring a shocking.
Don't even say. We'll be back next week.
Barring
we'll
a
be back next
shocking
week.
First weekend, we will be back with another episode of the ACC Insider Podcast next week here on the Field of 68.